Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number, I'm going to give that a little check over here, 653 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. And yet again, it's a gray and dark and kind of day here at the Beaver Lodge. But hey, the sunshine is inside our hearts. So let it shine. Just sparkle on, kitties and cubbies, sparkle on. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And of course, the twins, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to come up with a new duo name for the crutches. Let's see. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Before we go any further, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Good, I guess.
Okay.
Just sinus headache and not wide awake this morning. I woke up to my alarm, and usually I woke up before it, like several hours before, and went back to sleep, thankfully. But I thought it was going to be another 3 a.m. day where I wake up and I'm wide awake. It wasn't that, thankfully, but I'm not fully awake yet, and I'm on my second cup of coffee. So by the time I have to wrap up, I'll probably be wide awake.
On my second cup of coffee, my beaver said to me.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Let's look through the magic mirror. Good morning, Kit Uncover, Kit Janet S, Kit Lori Sue, hello, Kit Elaine, hello, dear one, Kit Wishful, hi, nice to see you. Who else? Kit Norm from 1957, or Norm. George went.
Passed away on the 32nd anniversary of the final episode of Cheers.
Really?
Yeah.
Gee, that's timing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow. Who else do we have here? Kit Saucy, good morning to you, dear one. Thank you for using the wrench yesterday, by the way. I saw that. Very good. Kit Dan, hey, how are you, my friend? Kit Argosi Acres, good morning to you. Who else do we have? Do we have anybody sliding in at the end? Hyper T 007, hey, nice to see you. And Kit Ladam, of course, the cornflakes of our show, the original and the best. Kit Nona Carol, hey, how are you? Nice to see you, Cat W. Good morning to you. And do we have anybody else? Katie Canuck, that's a new name for me here. Good morning. So glad you could join us. And let's see, keep on going through, and that's everybody. Okay, if you're not in now, you didn't slide in time to get seen through the magic mirror, storing it away. All right. Oh boy. In like it wasn't necessarily a big day news wise, but there was lots of stuff that happened. Some stuff silly. Mr. Grizzly and I were speaking very briefly, and we're not going to talk about him all that much because it really just does not make sense. But ambush number 2 in the awful office, uh, which you know, listen, Mr. You can speak to this a bit, right? So Donald Trump, as you may have heard, like maybe a couple weeks ago, had let in a certain number of refugees. It seems that refugees are acceptable and can come in really quickly and without going through any of the normal sort of processes if they happen to be white and from South Africa. It would seem, because Donald Trump claimed that there was a genocide of white people going on in South Africa and basically ambushed the leader of South Africa in a similar way that he ambushed Zelensky. The leader of South Africa did not react in the same way as Zelensky did, though, however, so, right. There was a different dynamic, but basically, without going to all the nonsense of Donald Trump's claim, basically this shows just how basic lucky in one way and good the situation was for Prime Minister Mark Carney, because now we know that the ambushes are not a one-off. Right?
Yeah, not.
The Zelensky thing like this. It's just whatever topic, and we know that they can happen now on pretty much any day. It's not just a one-off. That means that if you just get him, Donald Trump can come here for the G7 and then decide he's going to have a bad day like he did last time after he left. Signed the communique, everything was fine, and then gets on the plane and that Trudeau, he did something. So, but now we know. Now we know, right? These are planned ambushes and could happen whenever. So if ever there's an incident between IQ-47 and the prime minister of our country, well, again, we can take that with a full salt lick. So it's just dumb. And it's really not worth mentioning more than that. Just dumb. But hey, that's it. Stuff like that makes big news.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes big news. The other thing that made big news, and I have to give a shout out to Kit PNC Bio yesterday, who in the chat had mentioned something about, I assume he's an economist named Charles Kaufman. And I went to go check out the video and learned a lot. We often talk about debt to GDP ratio, but we don't really talk about deficit to GDP ratio. And if you start talking about deficit to GDP ratio, you start to realize that all the conservative talk about Canada going to hell in a handbasket economically is really BS, because it would seem that our deficit to GDP ratio is 2.2%. But the United States is about 6.4. It's almost 3 times the size of ours. And if Donald Trump gets all that he wants economically in that big, beautiful bill, whatever, like this, it could probably balloon to about like 9.4% by 2035. And the bond markets really don't like that, really would not like that to happen. And especially since the tax cuts that he's doing, he's sort of like scheduling them so that, that no tax on overtime and no tax on tips will actually expire the second he leaves office, should he leave office after this first term. And it seems that he will leave office, but it seems that the plan is to bring in Junior to succeed him, like every good dictatorship, right? You bring in the son to replace you, and of course, of all the sons, you bring the wackiest, of course.
The most bizarre, out of his mind, out of all of them.
Out of them. It's like, who's... Anyway, I'm praying to God Barron's the normal one. It's just
well,
he's got to have one winner somewhere in there, right?
But
you can't reproduce that many times and not produce one winner.
But if the rumors are true, it's not even his son.
I will cling to whatever. There's got to be one winner.
Barron is 6'9".
Oh,
He didn't get it from his mother or his father.
oh my God.
Well, his presumed father. If the truth
Yes.
is that he is the son of a Slovenian NBA player,
Yes. Yes.
which he looks an awful lot like him, and that man is almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
math adds up.
Yeah.
Not picking on the kid.
Not picking up the kid.
He doesn't pick his parents.
I'm just going to say, I'm pretty sure Donald's not going to be rushing to do a 23andMe. So here we go. When compared to the United States, it's not that listen, right? We are running deficits and all that type of stuff, but our deficits are about like 1.3% of GDP. Right? You can increase the output of your economy. It is much easier to recoup 1.3% a year than try to recoup 6.4% every year.
Oh yes.
I mean, I don't remember the last time the U.S. economy has grown at 6.4% in a year. Maybe outside the COVID rebound that one year. But it's so the bond markets don't like that, and it seems that the yield on the U.S. Treasury bonds went up 0.1% yesterday. And if you look at the bond, it's how much money basically foreign investors want from the U.S. to buy a 10-year bond. So basically, the more the bond yield goes up, the more the market is telling the United States, we don't think that you're a safe bet anymore. So it can only go up so far.
Well, and the rumor I read some time ago, and I've not been able to substantiate it, which is why I've not really brought it up on the show, is that apparently Carney went on and bought a ton of bonds leveraged against the U.S. dollar.
He did.
Oh, he did?
He did, yeah, prior to the election or something.
Correct, yes.
Yep. He did. That was the little signal that he sent. The second,
Okay.
a lot of people are wondering, oh, maybe that's why Donald Trump was so effusive when they met. But yeah, according to CNBC here, 30-year Treasury yield spikes to 5.09%. A 10-year yield hits 4.61% as GOP bill raises deficit concerns. The 30-year Treasury bond yield was up about 12 basis points to 5.09, breaking above the key 5% level for the second time this week and reaching a level not seen since October 2023. The 10-year yield topped at 4.6% and was last 11 basis points higher at 4.59, returning to levels that caused turmoil in the markets back in April and played a part in President Donald Trump's pausing his stiffest tariffs. The 2-year yield advanced 4 basis points, reaching 4.01. 1 basis point is equivalent to 0.01 as yields and prices move in opposite directions. And then it goes, investors are keeping an eye on discussions around U.S. President Donald Trump's budget bill, with Republicans haggling over the size of deductions for state and local taxes. Republicans worried about the spending in the bill are meeting with Trump at the White House on Wednesday to hammer out disagreements. If approved by Memorial Day, as is the goal for House Speaker Mike Johnson, the bill could end up increasing the U.S. government's deficit by trillions at a time when fears of a flare-up in inflation due to Trump tariffs are already weighing on bond markets and boosting yields. Quote, while the selling of U.S. Treasuries in the immediate aftermath of the Moody's downgrade was relatively modest, Treasury yields have climbed steadily since the end of April as budget negotiations have come to the fore, wrote Mark Heffley, UBS Global Wealth Management Chief Investment Officer, in a note Wednesday. The Republicans' bill, quote, is expected to add trillions of dollars to the country's $36 trillion deficit over the next decade, and this will likely lead to an increase in the supply of the Treasury debt, exerting pressure on the bond market. And that's the problem here, is that a lot of people are saying, hey, well, wait a minute. It's like you did this whole Doge thing to like cut all these inefficiencies and like that. How are we cutting all these inefficiencies, and how are we cutting Medicaid, and how are we cutting all these things and still coming up with the $36 trillion deficit? And that's the funny things that he's doing, because he's keeping those income tax cuts on tax and tips on till the end of his mandate when they clear. And then when they clear, the bulk of his big multi-trillion dollar tax cut comes in when he's gone. He doesn't have to be accountable for it. So none of that appears on the balance sheet at the time that he's president. But should he not be president anymore, it's going to be there. So basically, if he wants his son to succeed him, he's basically leaving a big old mess for his son to clean up. It's like, gee, thanks,
Yeah.
Dad. So, and probably an economy that would be like in complete and total disarray. So that's the thing, is that he's selling this to the people. It's like, look at our balance sheet. It's great. Look, and we balance the budget and all that kind of stuff. But the second he leaves, all the goodies for the people that he gave them to convince them to keep him in power vanish. And then the big hit of what it is he actually did to them the whole time hits. But the problem is the bond markets and the rating agencies will see that coming before the hit. And that's when the downgrades happen. And every time there's a cut in your credit rating, like happened last Friday,
Yeah.
well, the amount that it costs the United States to service its debt goes up a little.
Here's the thing, though.
And
He
that's
doesn't
something they
give a
can't
shit.
cut.
He doesn't care, though.
No, he
He
doesn't
doesn't
care.
care.
Because he never pays his bills.
He doesn't pay his bills. He never has. Right? He doesn't care one bit. It
Well, that's the
doesn't
thing.
matter to him. And he'll screw over the American people, because if he and his minions can get richer in the process, the rest of us will pay for it. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
So if you think that a man who allegedly bankrupt 6, I think it is, different
6
casinos is not also capable, and listen, he bankrupted those 6 casinos and he just walked away.
Yeah. Didn't care.
If you think that this man is not capable of bankrupting the world's biggest treasury, you lack imagination. And you haven't understood this man's ambition, the size of it. Everything in the world can be sacrificed to preserve him. Everything. If you ever saw the movie The Never-Ending Story, this man is the nothing.
Yes.
He just arrives and nothing. Just takes out everything. It's just, if Cookie Monster was evil and ate everything in sight, it would be Donald Trump.
Yeah. That's a suitable description. I mean, who's kidding who here? The man wants everything, and he doesn't want to pay for anything. I saw an interesting video earlier about the rich and how they avoid paying all kinds of taxes. I'll see if I can dig up the video. It's fascinating. And it really is an explainer as to what goes on and how it goes on. So I'll see if I can dig it up. I do have it on my phone, so I'll bring it up on my computer here. It's a great explainer for those of us who don't fully get it. And it is a YouTube video, so I can find the... Hang on, sorry.
Right.
Stop. Sorry.
That's it happens to me too.
Yeah. Stop. Don't do that.
Stop playing. No, I didn't ask for that. So this Charles Kaufman guy, and I sent him a little message. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show at some point. Does make the point that for Canada, as compared to the United States, we are in a way better situation and we are way better able, he's showing a whole bunch of graphs and he did a ton of work to do that. But it's like when you look at coming into COVID and coming out of COVID, right? It's pretty spectacular, the differences between our two countries. We basically went back to similar levels of, annual deficits that we had pre-COVID within the space of like 2 years, and the United States never got back there at all, like nowhere close, right? So that makes things easier. And then when you look at the growth of our GDP as well, Pierre likes to make us believe that our GDP has hardly grown at all this during the Trudeau time, but it did. Although the last 2 or 3 years have been relatively flat. Right?
I have the
So
video.
that's where Prime Minister Carney wants to do these things to try to boost the output of our GDP that way. So yeah, you found it, Mr. Uzo?
Yeah, I found it. You're going to love this. It's about 2 minutes, I think, but it's an explainer. It's YouTube short. It's an explainer. It's one guy who's playing two different characters. But just watch this, and you're going to learn a ton in a very short time. I have seen videos similar to this, but this one explains it better than most. So I think you'll really enjoy this. It's a small, quick lesson, and it'll tell you more than you ever thought. And let's just hit the play button here. Oh, come on, start over.
Why did you sell Twitter back to yourself? I sold X to XA.
Wrong one.
I don't actually understand how billionaires avoid paying taxes. Loans. You keep saying that, but how do you pay the loans back? I don't. What do you do when you run out of money? I get another loan. I don't get it. I think that most people understand at this point that I don't really make a big salary. I own parts of companies. And banks are more than happy to use that as collateral to lend me real money. What do you use for the down payment? Oh, gross. No, I don't do that. You see, poor people well, what's your net worth? Oh, I don't, way less than $1 million. Oh, okay. So will you borrow money that you don't have? I have the money. It's just locked up in equity. I don't do down payments. And as long as the loan is still earning interest, the bank doesn't really need their money back. But if you never actually pay them, isn't it just pretend? Oh, my sweet, sweet child. Fractional reserve banking would kill you. How do banks make money? By lending it out. Why call in my loan just to lend it back out to risky poor people? No offense. So you can just borrow billions until you're dead. As long as my net worth keeps going up. What if it drops and you don't have more collateral to give to the bank? I would probably create a shell company to bail me out. That seems complicated. We can talk about that another time. If I can't get creative, which is extremely rare, hopefully there's a favorable tax code. Otherwise, I might let the bank seize my assets that I used as collateral. Doesn't that look bad? Sure, but you don't pay capital gains tax if you never realize the gain. But that's a last resort. Otherwise, you just avoid taxes until you die, and then the estate handles it? Oh shit, that's actually the best part. When I die, my assets get reevaluated on a step-up cost basis. Why would I possibly know what that means? Right, yeah, you've probably never known anyone that's died with money. Basically, what I paid for the assets gets reset to what they're worth when I died. So, no capital gains tax. Wow. Does the method in which you die change anything? Oh, why would it? I'm just asking for a friend. If there was an accident, but there were no witnesses and someone tried to save you, but they failed, would said hero still get a reward?
So it's a pretty good lesson in a very short time frame.
Wow.
That's going to teach you more than you probably ever knew about how it all works. I mean, yeah, Generic Art Dad. He's a good follow on the YouTube. He's got 288 videos, 209,000 subscribers. So we're gonna have to increase our ad budget, I think.
Jeez, wow, man.
Yeah, it's good, and he's got a ton of shorts like that really do break it down and simplify it as much as possible in a short, 2-minute, 3-minute clip. But it's very, very informative.
See, wow, that's very good. Actually.
Yeah.
I was able to follow that.
Yeah.
And there were some terms in there I had never heard before.
I remember reading a couple of years ago, and I watched a video on it that explained it, how Beyonce and Jay-Z bought a house, a huge multi-million-dollar mansion, and never paid for it. They borrowed money against their assets, never paid interest on the loan, never even paid the loan back, basically got the house for free. And he just sums up how it worked.
I kind of did that.
Pardon?
I kind of did that in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. With there's something when you buy a house that's called a Smith maneuver. So when I had my condo, once I had enough capital in it, I was able to go to the bank and borrow against the asset.
Right.
Itself. And with that, you take that and you pay off the rest of your mortgage. So you have no mortgage. And whatever amount you have left, you buy an investment.
Right.
So you try to buy a secure one. So we bought an investment that you basically over the course of 12 and a half years returns the money as in like a monthly payment like this, and then you're left with whatever the investment is and whatever it's gained or lost at the time. But you have that. But what happens then is, because you've borrowed for the purpose of making an investment that is not a TFSA or an RSP contribution, because there's already a tax benefit to that, because you can't double that like this. The interest on that loan for purpose of investment is deductible from your taxes, but your mortgage is not. So basically, most of the interest on the mortgage on my first house was completely tax deductible.
Not bad.
It's good to have a good financial advisor.
No.
It really is. So, but again, I just lucked into a great financial advisor when I was like 30 or 28 or something like that. But yeah, he's like, I had no idea that a Smith maneuver existed until I started watching, well, then it was BNN television, now it's Bloomberg Television Canada. And then he's the one that told me, oh yeah, you could do that. And I said, but that's legal? I said, absolutely.
Yeah. The
It's
things
like, well,
we don't
because-
know, right?
Well, the thing is that I knew that borrowing for the purpose of investing was tax deductible, but I didn't know that there was a way that you could borrow to pay off your mortgage to then choose to pay off an investment interest rather than mortgage interest, and therefore deduct interest. Like, that's freaking brilliant. And I don't know why they don't teach that to everybody.
They don't
like
want
in high school.
Because they don't want people to know. You know, when we say the system's broken, actually it's not. It's working the way it's intended to work. It's designed to benefit the wealthy and screw the rest of us over, because it was designed by the wealthy who were in power a long time ago. Now, our system in Canada is the system you just saw that video about is the US, right?
Yeah.
Our system in Canada is a little bit more stringent than that, because our banks are really iffy about who they loan money to, as you well know. They don't just give it to anybody in this country.
But essentially, if you have enough money, it's the same thing.
Right. That's always the funny part, right? Like a buddy of mine, when he bought a business and he's like, I need $100,000. And the bank says, well, do you have $100,000? He goes, if I had $100,000, why would I come to you to borrow it?
Right.
Well, if you don't have $100,000, we can't loan you $100,000. He's like, he went to every bank in town. You know who actually helped him out, and he's been banking with them ever since, and all of his family members switched to them as well?
La Caisse Populaire.
Yes, sir. Yep. Desjardins. They helped him out, and he's like, that's it. I won't bank with anybody else now. And he moved all of his business accounts. All of his family members did the same thing.
Yep.
Because they actually worked with him and said, okay, well, what's your business plan? What do you have? And they looked at it and said, this all makes sense on paper. We're happy to loan you the money.
Yep. They were willing to do the work to look into.
Yes. Yeah. They weren't just, well, I need 100,000. Do you have 100,000?
Yes.
If I did, I wouldn't need it.
Is your number high enough? Good, we'll lend you the money. How about let's look into the soundness of your idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's always, again, trust but verify. Because sometimes you don't know what you're going to miss too. Right? When you just have that blanket. There you go, Kit PNC Bio. It's right there in the rules. Yes, they don't teach you how to use the rules to your advantage instead of theirs. I would argue that's the same for everything. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Yes, absolutely. But PNC Bio, thank you so much for the recommendation. That was some good stuff. Definitely, I see what the appeal is in terms of checking out Charles Kaufman's stuff. So, like I said, we tried to extend an invitation. We don't know if we'll see it, of course, but we did put it on out, and hopefully we will get a response.
Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so. There's no guarantees.
Yeah, he's a very he knows he appears to know his stuff, and the thing is that he actually does the amount of research that was required to do that video I watched.
Right.
I'm very familiar because I often do that amount of research for a lot of things. So I'm sitting there, okay, game respects game, respect. So this is a serious person. So,
yes.
So hopefully he will see the invitation, and we'll be able to have him on.
And we have, is tomorrow's show going to be pre-recorded?
Tomorrow's show, yeah, it's going to be pre-recorded.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. We're going to
Yeah, we have an interview guest later today that
Yes.
we're gonna pre-record for tomorrow
Yes.
morning because you are en route to Ottawa tomorrow morning, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Excited.
We're having a podcast on Saturday, by the way, for those.
Yes.
It's kind of a last minute thing. And I was looking at the calendar going, oh, we're getting late into the month. If we better do one soon. And you just popped it up to me yesterday.
Yep.
Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, around 6.
The whole week has been a blur.
I know, same here. I have a dental appointment on Friday, and my beaver sweetie is able to bring me because I'm not trusting myself to ride a bus and like be knocked in the first week when I had my knee surgery. At one point, I was riding the bus to get to a physio appointment, and somebody sort of like knocked my foot a little bit as they were going, and it was like, oh. So, and that was like 3 or 4 weeks into it. So this is like 3 or 4 days into it. So sometimes, like yesterday, I was on the crutches and I lost my balance for a little bit. And when you lose your, like the rest of your body sort of compensates. So the other foot sort of like waved a little bit to try, and it's like, no, why did you do that? No, it hurts. So, yeah, I decided I was soft. So I said, I'm not going there if I have to take the bus or the train. I'll just postpone the appointment. And that's what he said. Well, let's see if you can do a podcast on Saturday. And if you can, then like this, I'll drive you up and we'll make a weekend out of it. So my beaver sweetie is my hero. I'm going to go to a dentist appointment and we're going to get a podcast. And it's going to be mostly because of him that I'm going to be able to be there presently. So kids and cubs, please, if you have the opportunity, plenty of thanks to the beaver sweetie, because the beaver sweetie is actually giving up a day in the science lab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's love.
Because that's big for him.
Yes. It's his happy place. So yeah. So yes, podcast. Yay. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And hey, it's not going to be just a podcast. It's going to be a belated birthday bash. Because
yes.
The day of my birthday was kind of a womp womp day. So it was merely postponed. And by the way, why would I not want to celebrate my birthday with the damn fam?
So looks like we'll be taking a road trip in July.
Ooh. Okay. Yes.
Up north.
Yes.
Came through yesterday. That's all. Can't say any more than that.
Okay. Yay.
But yeah. So that's it happened yesterday. We got the signatories, and so we got a road trip in July around Canada Day. I'm not sure the exact dates yet, but we'll have
think it's the 3rd and 4th or something like that.
I think so. Something like that. Yeah. So.
Oh, that'll be fun. Oh, cool. Yes. Oh, good.
It might be Yellowknife for my birthday, possibly. So.
Ooh, I love going north.
I haven't been yet, so.
Yeah. Hopefully we can stay an extra day or two so that we can.
Because I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm perfectly willing, like, to cover the hotels and whatnot to stay an extra day because up north is just fantastic.
We'll get it all figured, but I just thought I'd pass that little note to you. So I meant to mention it in the green room, but I'm not awake yet, and I'm waking up as my second cup of coffee is finished here. I'm going to need a third in a second.
So that means we might have a live show from we take a couple of extra days from Yellowknife. That would be really cool.
I'll bring a small complement of equipment and see if we can make that happen.
That would be very happy. Kit Kat, no, nah. I gotta put that up. But you are his happy place too.
Aww.
Oh, I'm melting mush. I love mush. Okay, I'm a big old softie. All right. So economically, all that kind of stuff's going on. And well, yesterday. Oh, by the way, sorry, before we get into it, we have to talk about it. Oilers.
Yeah.
Did
what
you
happened? I watched the first and second period.
Right.
I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I'm so tired.
So you were there till 3-1.
Yes. I went to bed. Yes. I'm like, well, okay, 3-1. They're playing good. I think they got this wrapped up. And I woke up this morning and I went,
What?
Do they think they're the Leafs in Game 7?
Oh my God.
6-3 was the final?
I know. I couldn't believe it.
I'm all in the third period.
Yes.
5 goals in the third period. by Dallas. Like, what the hell happened, guys?
And what did I say about that? What is it about that team scoring late?
Dallas they're a good team. Yeah.
It was 3-1. I think until
Edmonton must have sat back and rested on their laurels for the third period, thinking we don't need to attack anymore. We've got this in the bag, and clearly they didn't.
I guess so, because that is wow.
Yeah.
I'm watching it happening in slow motion, and I'm like, no. Oh God. When they scored the fourth one, I'm just like, no. How is this possible? But yeah, up until like I think the 16th or like well, third period, about like 3 minutes in or something like that. There was a goal or something. Yeah. No, second goal. Yeah, exactly. 3 minutes and 50 seconds in, they tied it up, and then it was like literally like 2 minutes and something later, and then they took the lead, and then it was just the game was gone. It was like one match up until like 3 minutes into the third period, and then it was a whole other match. It's like, oh, God. Now, one of the goals was an empty net, but still 6-3. They blew a 3-1 lead. All right.
3-1 lead in the third period.
I know.
Where have we heard that before? Sorry,
Right?
but where have we heard that before? I mean, come on, folks. This is
Oilers. Come on, man. All right, but hey, it's just game one. Just game one.
It's only one game out of a 7-game series, a best of 7, right? So maybe last night that was a learning curve because.
I was going to say jet lag, but I guess that's the same time zone.
They've had a few days rest, so.
Edmonton and Dallas are the same time zone, aren't they? So can't even blame that. And even with jet lag, would be a maximum 2 hours. So again, clinging to excuses. But man, I was so disappointed. I was like sitting there and like having a great time. It was like, no. But on the other side of things, kids and cubs, tonight, if you are in the hockey mood, you will have the chance once again for game 2 between the Ottawa Charge and the Minnesota Frost at 7 p.m. Eastern PWHL Women's Playoffs. And
I might have
if
to go
you're
over to the pub to watch that because I'm not paying $30. I'm sorry.
And if you are at taking care or watching the World Championships of hockey, the WIHF, it would appear that for the playoff round, Canada has drawn Denmark in the first round. So it seems that Canada did get that victory against Sweden in the final game to finish atop of the pool. And yes, there it was. It was a 5-3 victory for Canada against Sweden. So they finished in first place in Pool A. Switzerland finished in first place in Pool B. Switzerland got that upset on the United States. So there you go. Canada versus Denmark, round 1. And that, I believe, will be today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. In the afternoon. So 2:20 p.m. Eastern time, if you want to put on your colors and cheer. Okay.
There's one for you. The Oilers blowing game 1. Sadness. Looking out over the Rockies, knowing the Oilers always lose game 1. Think positive.
There you go. Okay. Well, if the Oilers always lose game 1, then okay. Then that's a good sign then.
Well, it's the
right.
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
So here's the funny thing. There's a story about that guy. He's like 20 now. And he was a little boy, and it was this thing they're doing for class, and it was the video. So they ended up doing that in the credit roll of the documentary film.
Aww.
And he was watching it and he was like, "Are they making fun of me?" And
Oh,
it was just adorable.
it's just adorable. It's totally cute.
That's
All
what
right.
it was. It was just
Yeah, it's totally cute. Okay. So and we keep on talking about her, but Victoria Mboko did win her second round qualification match at the French Open, and will be playing tomorrow a lady named Kaya Juvan from Slovenia. And if she defeats her, and according to the rankings, it looks that it's that Victoria Mboko should be able to take that match. She would be entering her first ever Grand Slam main draw on her first attempt ever of trying to do that. She's a phenomenon.
hmm
She just is. It's incredible. I've not since Milos Raonic and Eugenie Bouchard have I seen somebody from Canada just shoot up like that so quickly. So keep your eye on her. You might be seeing her on the biggest stage possible,
maybe
Grand Slam
maybe
event.
maybe change that to rock it up.
Rock it up.
Shoot up. Just
Yeah, I
that's
agree. You know,
kind of
yep. I agree. Good note. Rock it up is a better choice of a better. Again,
we
and
don't
then
want
and that.
people thinking the wrong thing.
Well, here's the thing, right? You said shoot up, and then I started thinking about Billboard charts. Remember, was like number one with a bullet.
hmm
It's like, oh no, that's
hmm
not good either. Now is it?
No, yeah,
Ah. Ah.
yeah. We don't say those things anymore.
Yeah,
It's
jeez.
old sayings that we should probably throw into the dustbin of history because let's face it, they all have different connotations now.
Yeah, but it's it, it's amazing. That's one of the reasons I like words, and words are my life, right? Just the evolution of language and what's
Mhm.
like popular in one time, right? And it's like we're in an era now where literally actually means figuratively when people use it, right?
Well, that's the
It's
odd part. Yes, yes.
it's like so over time and whatnot, and and way to. I remember when I was a kid in French, you'd go, "Ah, c'est écœurant," and écœurant means it's gross. But of course, back in the days when we were kids, écœurant, right? Everything was the opposite. So it's like, "Oh, that's so good." Like so when people go, "Oh, that's sick," and it's like you get the adults going, "Sick? Who's sick? Do we need to get them some out?" No, 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 no. The sick is good. It's like écœurant was cool rather than gross. So it's like it's just
Yeah.
how words change, right?
Well, and what's the other one? It's like, yo, gee, that paint job on your car is dirty.
Right.
What? What? Dirty. Nasty, dirty.
Yes.
So bad?
Yeah.
No, it's like fat, like the kids say with a PH. What?
Yes. It's like, or I'm giving you stank face. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
is that bad? No, that's good. Oh,
that's good.
feeling it.
And want to put some
Right?
stank on that? You get the keyboard player, let me put some stank on that. Like, what am I? What is going on?
Why
I
do they
feel bad.
confuse the children?
Well, somebody's trying to learn the English language, and there's a comedian. He's from Finland. His name is Ismo, and he talks about how the word ass can be applied in so many different ways. Kick ass can be bad or good. Badass. Fat ass. Like he just goes on for about 5 minutes just on the
Smart
etymology of the word ass and how it means so many different things in English. He's like, it's so very confusing. There. What? Different spellings.
Yes, really. Oh boy. Yeah. Wait until we get exactly. Wait until we get to the theirs and the yours. Ooh.
I
All
can
right.
understand why people have a difficult time, especially if you're, say your first language was Chinese, whatever the dialect, and you're switching to learn English. It would be very confusing because in Chinese the language is a lot more shortcutted, if you would. Like one word ma, the way you pronounce it, you can say ma 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 ma, and again, I'm loose translation. Grandmother's beating the old dead horse, but it's all in the pronunciation, but it's one word. Whereas in English, the word there has multiple meanings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and spellings. So
So yeah,
indeed.
There. What? Wait a minute. Spell that out for me so I know what's going on.
So do you mean there, or do you mean there?
there.
All right, kids and cubs. We got some stuff going on here.
I got
If
the
you're one,
video clip queued up for you here.
okay,
Whenever
cool.
you're ready.
If you are wondering about the state of the Terra Nova, the peninsula's recount, because that one started on Monday of the previous week, it seems that the judge overseeing the recount signaled that will wrap up on Friday afternoon, and there was a bit of a delay because in Marystown, Newfoundland, Labrador, where the recount is taking place, the town is installing a new chlorination system, and it led the town to shut off the water supply, which closed all public buildings for a while, which delayed the count. So that will be continuing soon, and seems that we'll wrap up on Friday. So that will be the third of the four. For which we will have a result. The other one is, I believe, Windsor, Tecumseh Lakeshore, and that recount started just on the 20th, so it could take a little bit. And of course, even though the one in Terrebonne is complete, as you know, the leader of the Bloc Québécois has petitioned the courts in order to have the result nullified and have a new by-election held in the district because of the election irregularities. Just a note, we mentioned it on the show again, but it bears repeating. The reason that the Bloc Québécois has to do this is because there is absolutely nothing in law that allows Elections Canada itself to say, hey, we had irregularities, we should rerun this election. Elections Canada does the count, the verification, and judicial recount if needed. And at that point, when the judicial recount happens, it's considered final, unappealable, and that's where the process stops for Elections Canada. And on process and count and all that kind of stuff, it's unappealable. Irregularities are a different thing. Right, so that's where Bloc Québécois has a case. The leader of the Bloc Québécois is very, very confident that they do have a case and that they have a winning case. Again, the only way I would see a judge not ordering a by-election is if a judge says, well, again, chain of custody, that one woman's vote, it's there, it's in the envelope, and you've got the 5 there, just count those 5 and let that decide. That could be another option, but the judge could also decide that just for the overall integrity of the process, given that there's been so much back and forth on this one, that a new one is just required. Now, of course, that is going to create an interesting situation in that riding, Nunavut, James Bay area, that didn't have offices even open for the entire time that people were supposed to vote. Again, no word from anybody there as to whether or not there's going to be petition to have a by-election in that one either. But again, I find it very interesting that the Bloc Québécois wants a by-election in one and doesn't want a by-election in the other as well. So there are these things that are a little inconsistent throughout the board. But on this particular issue, all credit has to go to Yves-François Blanchet and the Bloc here, because there is an opportunity. If this was the Conservatives, right, they'd be claiming some type of fraud, some type of this, some type of that. And Yves-François Blanchet is like, he's just like, nope, I don't want to hear any talk about that. Just, it's like, this thing happened. This is a result. It clearly is not conclusive. Just run another one. That's it. So he's not playing into the, judges are corrupt or Elections Canada screwed up or where did all these extra ballots appear and all that kind of stuff. Now, you're hearing some things, if you're watching online, that there's these magical ballots that suddenly appeared and all that kind of stuff. No, that's not what happened. There are the same amount of ballots. There are no extra votes. What happens is that there's a whole team that's there, right? There's the returning, there's the judge itself, there's the returning officer, there's all of that type of stuff. There's some scrutineers that are probably there. There are legal representatives from the parties. There are the candidates in this. And while there is discussion, right, about the vote, I guess the judge looks at the vote. And the judge will make the determination whether or not the vote counts or doesn't. So if there are votes that have like some irregular markings or all that kind of stuff, it's because all the scrutineers that are there on that night just say, okay, this is a valid vote, this is not a valid vote. When you get to a judicial recount, they look at all of those and they see if there's any of those votes that were rejected that can be what's called cured. So they look at the vote and I say, well, okay, the marking wasn't exactly, but is it clear what the voter's intent was? And if it is, they will factor the ballot back in if it was improperly removed the next time. So in this case, in the case of Terrebonne, there was a certain number of ballots that were indeed cured. So people are turning around and says, well, where did all these extra votes come from? They're not extra votes. They're votes that were cast that were deemed to be invalid originally. And after, given that the result was so close and whatnot, that it's worth to look at that, because they looked at them and they said, hey, there's a couple of extra votes here like this that were ruled out. But these votes should have counted because even though they weren't, it wasn't just an X in the box perfect or whatnot, it is very clear what the voter intended. And that's the standard set out by law in the Elections Act. Right? That's the metric that the judge has to use. It's like we always put the favorable bias on the side of the voter. If we can be pretty sure that we know what the voter intended, even though the voter did not vote perfectly, we're still going to make all the efforts to count that vote. So that's the thing, right? There's no additional votes. Why not? It's the same votes. It's just certain votes that were ruled out at some point. Some people say, other people are saying, like, why do they keep recounting? They don't keep recounting. There's the initial count, mandated by law. There's the validation, mandated by law, making sure that when people phoned it in, that the person at the other end heard what was said, and then when they entered it, they actually entered the right thing. There wasn't a fat finger or something like that. And then there's a judicial mechanism for judicial recount, also in law. So these are not counting and recounting and recounting. These are three different phases, and it's built-in redundancy in the system because people go, well, why didn't they get the count right the first time? It's like human error. The human error that is involved in any system, inherent to any system in which humans are involved. That's why we have the count, the validation, and the judicial recount mechanism. Because we realize that there could be human error. So we have all these stages.
Right.
If the human error is big enough then we have this right? So it's not a matter of not counting right. If you're counting that many ballots and you're only off by 20 or 63 or something like that, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good count. And then again, some of the count, right? You also have to remember because certain votes were deemed invalid. And now they're rolled back in. So there's no extra voting. There's no extra ballots that appeared. There's no extra stuff. It's a group of people that are sitting there and they're looking at each one of these ballots. They're saying, what does this ballot say? What was the intent of the voter? Do you see this ballot? Yes. Do you agree? Like this, and generally you try to get consensus. There could be someone who contests, but it's going to be the decision of the judge at the end of the day that is final. Whether or not that vote counts or doesn't.
Right.
So if a judge is being absolutely unreasonable, there are so many other people in that room that could go to a microphone and say, this judge is being unreasonable. And that's not happening.
No. Isn't that interesting?
It's not happening. So typically a judicial recount involves the presiding judge, Elections Canada officials, legal representatives, or candidates from the involved parties. That's a lot of people in the room. And there's a lot of time to discuss each ballot if somebody has a problem. So this is not stuffing, adding ballots, allowing extra people to come in and vote after, finding extra votes. That's not it. Right? And all of this is laid out and mandated by law. So all these steps in Terrebonne were taken. And after that, we had a margin of one
vote.
And then we found out about the labeling things, which is an irregularity, not a count.
An irregularity and not something that's happened before, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I think this is a first. And again, like I said, there was a journalist in Montreal who he got the same thing. His mail-in ballot was kicked back to him, returned to sender. And he says, look, my vote isn't going to change anything because in my riding, who I voted for did not get elected and was not even close. He says, I didn't vote for any of these, the three main parties. Who knows who he voted for? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant as far as he's concerned. He's like, my vote still needs to count, though.
Yes.
For democracy to work. And I'm like, I agree with him. I do. And the amount of people who figured I would be against any sort of additional recount outside of the judicial, because it would create a tie and then force a runoff election. I'm like, no, I have no problem with that. They're like,
Nope.
really? And they go, didn't you want Carney to win? And I go, I wanted Carney to win because it's the best thing for the country. That's why I wanted Carney to win. Pardon?
You also want the victory to be clean.
Well, this is the other thing. It's like if the liberal leader, liberal candidate in that riding won fair and square, congratulations. And if it was a tie between her and the Bloc candidate, then we have to have a runoff. And by all metrics, it was a tie. The one vote that would have created the tie has been, could I say disallowed? I don't know if that would be the right term. It was never counted.
Yeah, it wasn't counted. But that's why I'm saying it was never counted. It wasn't disallowed. It was just never counted because it never got to the office. This court case is what would decide whether or not it gets disallowed or not. The one that the Bloc Québécois petitioned for.
And I'm glad they're doing this.
It has to be done. That's what I was. That's the point I was making earlier. It's like even if, let's say, that vote in that envelope. Now the lady said that she voted for the Bloc, which one? But let's say that vote was NDP.
Yeah, we don't know.
And the thing stayed the same, right? Still, after those things and the irregularity, and given how close the margin is, do you really want to run with that?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to be sure?
Yeah.
For the integrity of the system.
Let's be sure so we can protect the system.
Exactly. So that's another consideration. A judge can determine that the overall interest of the public is better served by being absolutely sure about this writing. And let's do it again. Now, for the moment, though, this is where things get a little interesting. It's Elections Canada at the moment considers that Tatiana Auguste from the Liberals has won the seat. And that decision is final as far as they're concerned. So I'm not sure if she's going to be showing up on the Hill for the speech for the throne, but she is entitled at this moment, until the Bloc Québécois court case is resolved, to actually physically occupy that seat. She is the MP for that. It is not a vacant seat at the moment.
Correct.
So it could be that she could be sitting in that seat for a month or two like this, and then the decision comes down, we're having another by-election, whoops, she's gone. But at the moment, because that's going to be another thing, if she does occupy that seat, there's going to be a lot of people turning around, I can't believe she's there, she didn't win. It's like, yes, she did.
She did.
At the moment, she is the winner. That could change.
It may very
But
well
at the moment, as far as Elections Canada is concerned, after all three phases, she is the winner by one vote. And she is entitled legally. There's nothing wrong if she's sitting in that seat until the decision comes down to whether by-election or not. And if there is a by-election, if there's a win. Now, I assume that if there was a by-election, maybe they would step aside from occupying the seat during the by-election. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's legal. Again, like, this is new, right? We don't know if it's legally required or whatnot. Because until the vote of the by-election is actually confirmed.
Right.
Fully confirmed through all three phases, that too, because technically it would still be her seat. So, but sometimes for good form, you might want to step aside until, just like, like cabinet minister sometimes steps aside during the course of an investigation until their name is cleared. Could be something like that, even though this is not an investigation. But it could be good form. So there's a lot of things that we could see. But again, it would seem to me on this part that even up until that time, she could probably occupy that seat. But at least for now, until a by-election is declared and called, that seat is hers.
Right.
So again, if you see anything in the press saying like this, oh, they're cheating or like this, no, they snuck her in the spring session to get her vote on the other thing to make sure they pass. No.
And you're going to hear that along with the folks who kept saying, well, Poilièvre lost because they expanded his riding to include more liberals.
Nope.
No. They created 5 new ridings across the country. We used to have 338 elections. Now we have 343 because the population has grown since the last election.
Yep. Like this, and the expansion of the riding, well, the changing of the boundaries of the riding actually included more rural areas, which are actually more inclined to vote conservative. So if one wanted to be technical, the boundary change based on the populations, the demographics and past vote would indicate that there were actually more votes for Poilièvre there than not. So
technically, yes. And
it doesn't.
All the liberals did that. No, they didn't.
Nope.
No political party does that. No
political parties have input into the process.
That's it.
But after that, that's all out of their hands. It's not like the United States, where the winning party gets to gerrymander for the next election.
And I keep trying to tell folks this, and that they just refuse to believe facts. So that's when I just walk away from I'm like, fine, look, you clearly want to believe what you want to believe, and that's fine, you can, but facts don't care about your beliefs, period. Not your feelings. They don't care about your beliefs. Facts don't care about anything. They're facts. That's it. And they're not alternative. They're facts. It is or it isn't. It is binary. It is digital. It's a fact or it isn't a fact. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no spectrum.
No.
It's binary completely.
Yep. Exactly. I think that's what I was saying. Somebody was like I think he said, you're either the MP or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the leader of the opposition thing that are turned around. Oh, Pierre's still the leader of the opposition. It's like, no. It's like leader of the opposition there's no middle ground. It's like being pregnant. You are or you're not.
Right.
You have a seat in the house or you don't.
One or the other.
That's it. You can't be a little bit pregnant.
Why do they keep still keep giving this man press as if he was a member of parliament? He's not. He's a private citizen right now.
Yes, there is respect that is due to him as the leader of the party. We have to. Listen,
yeah, you're right.
I don't like it.
You're right.
There is a respect that is due to him as leader of the party.
But you are correct.
In terms of parliamentary, anything parliamentary, he is irrelevant.
Completely.
Utterly irrelevant.
He's the leader of the party, but he has no power.
Yes, just like Michelle Ferrari today, who popped up a little tweet there. I was like, I can't believe I like this. And you are?
Private citizen. You were handed your walking papers.
We care about your opinion now anymore because...
Yeah, never cared about it in the first place because she's a terrible person. But now she's a terrible person with no platform.
Yes, still trying to be relevant, aren't you? Just
grasping at straws.
Withdrawal, getting the shakes, maybe, Michelle. Just wondering. A lot of people are having trouble adjusting. The Conservatives seem to have a lot of trouble adjusting to the fact that they've lost. They really do. I'm just watching them go, and it's like you do realize you guys lost, right?
Mm-hmm. No,
it doesn't seem to be here. All right.
Well,
going on.
I don't think they recognize that they lost when you see things from their party their party. Well, I'm gonna show this because you made a comment. I can't find where your tweet went, but I'm gonna show this tweet, which kind of describes the current crop of Conservative Party supporters today. Reform Party with a new name. It's this is a right-wing conservative journalist in quotes because Cian Bext, or Nazi Caillou as I call him, is not a journalist. This is representative of the entire Conservative Party and their constituents. This is exactly why I'm no longer a conservative voter. They are repulsive and usually hide behind the guise of Christianity. Now, Rachel Gilmore tweeted, very cool company the National Post's editor-in-chief is keeping on this paid-for trip to Israel, for which I'm sure we'll be getting very nuanced reporting. That was sarcasm. And of course, Cian Beck's response to Rachel Gilmore is,
okay, warning.
Keep my name out of your filthy
Say
mouth.
it. Say it. Say
Keep
it.
my name out of your filthy whore mouth.
Yep.
And he wants to consider himself and call himself a journalist.
Yep. And the reason why I said say is not because I like that word. But you need to hear what it is they say.
Yes.
The unvarnished one. This is what they think of us. Wonder if the government of Alberta is still paying them a certain amount a month for that
$12,000 a
type
month.
of
I think he was getting paid.
yeah, yes, for that type of stunning. I'm using stunning the same way somebody uses transformational commentary. But yeah, my comment about that was that one would be surprised by the number of people who consider themselves progressive conservative or actual conservatives who actually enjoy our show, despite the fact that we have a different take, because they too do not recognize themselves in what the current movement has become. It's just conservative movement looking at a woman that basically says, very cool company the National Post editor-in-chief is keeping on this paid-for trip to Israel, from which I'm sure we'll be getting very nuanced reporting. And it's like, that does not require that type of response.
No.
Because,
But I'm the hysterical one, apparently.
yes. Right? You can say, you could turn around. Yeah, it will be extremely nuanced.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll read it. Can't wait to hear what you say. You can do stuff like that, but keep my name out of your filthy whore mouth. Really?
Really?
Really? Really? Like this, and then some people are like, that right there is why I don't vote conservative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand you. Who wants that? Who wants that? There are so many other ways. Listen, if people are snarking at each other, right? Which is clearly what's happening here. Snark at each other. But there's proportionality. Gee, I wonder if this thing is going to be so nuanced. Like this. And then you take out a bazooka.
Yeah.
Rather than a cream pie. It's like, come on, man. This completely disproportionate, completely irrational. I mean, it's not like it's not true that the reporter in question always provides very nuanced reporting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's a lie. So somebody was a little touchy. It's just, but this is what I call losing mastery of yourself in public.
I don't think he's ever had it, to be honest with you.
And this is digital, and it is forever.
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
deleted it. Yeah, well, there's screenshots, but so it ain't gone.
Yeah. But he of course, this type of stuff, punching down on this particular reporter, is the type of stuff that makes people open their wallets. Unfortunately. And that's why he does it.
In other news from Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
David Parker insists that 25% of all government employees in Canada should be fired immediately.
Why? Because you are?
Useless paper pushers who are receiving the employment equivalent of welfare produce nothing and create rules to harm the actually productive members of our society. And our friend, who we will be talking to later, says, I ran 5 departments with over 400 people. Were 25% of them underperformers? No. Government is run much tighter than most corporations, being chronically underfunded. Your opinions are only possible because of ignorance. No one who's actually done things believes you. Pretty much.
That's another one who's fighting for relevance.
Yes.
Hmm. Oh, well. Hey, knock yourselves out, kids. See, this is the thing. It's like yell, scream, flap your arms, get mad, make big public spectacles. At the end of the day, it's still Treaty 678. So just make all the drama you want. It's not going to change a damn thing.
No, it won't.
You're just going to make asses on yourself, and you're going to do it on digital, and it's going to be forever. That's all. All right, moving on. So sometimes that's all the time you need to give these people. Or else like it would never end. Lots of stuff going on. The G7 finance ministers are meeting here in Canada ahead of the big meeting that will be taking place later on. François-Philippe Champagne is on track to wrap up a second and, at least for now, final round of high-level discussions with his G7 counterparts. It's taking place in Banff, Alberta, and he described it as very productive meeting, which is good to hear. It seems that talks specifically with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent are pretty good, and he indicates that are pleased. Everybody seems that they are pleased at the progress made, as well as at the sense of unity at the G7, which is very good. There has been other words coming from the ambassador of the United States to Canada, as Kit Uncover brought to us here in the chat, stating favorable things about tariffs, like Canada may end up being the lowest tariffed country. So it seems, again, that there's maybe some work on those fentanyl tariffs and other stuff like this that might be coming down soon. There seems to be a lot of chatter in the United States about how Canada has indeed made some progress on that, and maybe that's something that we'll look at without anybody saying anything firmly at the moment. But the signs being sent, at least for now, seem to indicate that there could be some type of announcement coming as it relates to Canada at some point down the road. Nothing in the chatter seems to indicate a timeline of that, but it seems to indicate that people are moving in a way that could be good. So that's what it is today. Again, the President of the United States is super mercurial, so you never know. But hey, that could happen. According to the official.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you for joining us. Finance ministers from the G7 and Ukraine are in Banff this week to discuss trade, security, and the global economy. Jordan Canagan joins us from Banff tonight. So, Jordan, what is on the agenda this week?
Well, Tara, quite a lot. There are 8 sessions that are planned for the finance minister and central bankers, and it covers a lot of topics over the next 2 days or so. That includes trade, security, and of course the global economy. Another thing is support for Ukraine. We heard from the Canadian and Ukrainian finance ministers just about an hour ago or so. They talked about supporting that country and standing shoulder to shoulder. But there is no doubt hanging over pretty much every meeting will be the tariffs imposed by the United States. Officials from Canada, the United States, Japan, France, Italy, Britain, and Germany will be attending these sessions. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne calling it a consequential moment for the G7 and the world. He says the meetings will be about getting back to the basics and having a united agenda for the world's biggest economies. He says this week is about restoring stability and growth. When it comes to the U.S., though, Champagne wants to find common ground and build off of positive meetings at the White House.
But there was always tension around tariffs, as you would expect. But at the same time, there's a lot we can achieve together. There's a lot that we are looking to coordinate our actions and really tackle some of the big issues around overcapacity, non-market practices, financial crimes.
Now, the first public meeting of all these finance ministers will happen first thing tomorrow morning, and then it is straight into one of those 8 sessions that are planned. This critical finance ministers meeting, of course, happening just weeks before the big G7 summit in Kananaskis.
Okay, good. Thanks for that. So some of the issues being discussed here, the top of the topics, recent international developments and risks to the economic outlook, enhancing economic resilience, global growth policies, development issues, risk and potential in AI, and financial crime. The ultimate objective, according to officials who briefed reporters on background ahead of the summit, is to foster long-term growth, address risks to the global economy, continuing support for Ukraine, and providing a platform for leaders to engage. Champagne held a series of bilateral meetings with his counterparts on Wednesday as well, where their shared challenges on this front were likely brought up, and then secured a private pre-dinner conversation with Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, who signaled through a spokesperson over the weekend that he was coming to Canada to talk to his counterparts about trade imbalances and his desire to generate economic growth through the private sector. Asked how their bilateral meeting went, Champagne said, "Very good. Quote, we get along very well," he said. "We had a lot to discuss, and we took the time to discuss a number of issues." And for what came up on the tariff front, the finance minister demurred. "I'm not going to go into the details of what we discussed." While no resolution to any trade tensions is expected out of the gathering of economic heavyweights, there's hope common ground on other challenges, such as non-market practices, including overcapacity, can be found. Of course, Ukraine was there in taking part. Mr. Champagne said, "I think it's very telling to the world that we have our Ukrainian friend with us. It sends a strong message to the world that we are, all of us, recommitting to support Ukraine. We're going to hold Russia to account." That's good. The Ukrainian finance minister, Mr. Marchenko, said, "The invitation to be here is a great honor for us because it helps us to better provide the necessary information about the situation on the ground to understand how we can collectively provide necessary action. I hope we have a very productive discussion." So this is a good prelude to the meeting that will be taking place in Kananaskis later on with the actual leaders of the G7. And these meetings are being co-led by François-Philippe Champagne and the governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem. And basically, Champagne said that there's a sort of a vibe of going back to basics to set the global agenda in there. And to that end, today as well, there's going to be back-to-back working sessions that are co-chaired by the Champagne and the governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem, on, quote, financial crime and artificial intelligence. And then they will team up for a post-summit press conference that will take place at around 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time this afternoon there, if you're talking mountain time, if you're in the East. I guess it'll be 2 hours later there. So that's happening. Parallel to that, the Prime Minister had his first meeting over the course of the weekend, full meeting with the cabinet. So they had like a 2-day retreat session, and they worked on what the priorities were going to be for the upcoming session of Parliament. And Mark Carney issued a mandate letter. This is very interesting because, especially if you've been living in Ontario, for example, there have been some issues with mandate letters and finding out what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because often, like in the case of Ontario, the Premier wrote a mandate letter to each of the ministers and says, "These are the things that I want you to work on," but then kept it hidden because apparently the public is not allowed to know what it is that the leader of the government has asked his ministers to do, again, on our time and with our dime.
Well, and let's not forget how much money we spent fighting to see those letters, and he defended against showing them to us, and
he lost.
Legal fees, and he lost. I have to go. It is 8:30. I got to run. I have things to do, places to be, people to see, things to meet, something like that. I don't know. I'm wandering right now because I do need a third cup of coffee, and I got to get some food into my belly before I head out. Although I'm meeting somebody for coffee shortly. So anyway, I got to take Lola out first. And before I do that, I will say goodbye, farewell, so long. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you soon.
Have a good one, folks.
All right. Bye, my friend. So, yeah, the mandate letter has come out, and this is really interesting. Well, number one, because first of all, the Prime Minister did not write a mandate letter to everyone. He just wrote, sorry, let me rephrase that. He didn't write an individual mandate letter for everyone. He just wrote one mandate letter for everyone. And He made it public right off the bat. We don't have to fight. We don't have to argue. We don't have to take anybody to court. We don't even have to ask what's in the mandate letter. He just made it public. So, since he made it public, let's make it even more public. May 21st, 2025. Dear colleagues, last month, Canadians elected a new government to stand up for our country and to build a strong economy that works for everyone. As members of the 30th Ministry, we must fulfill this mandate with purpose and force. We must meet a series of unprecedented challenges with both a disciplined focus on core priorities and new approaches to governing. Canada faces a series of crises. In a more dangerous and divided world, geopolitical risks are rising, threatening our sovereignty. The global trading system, which has helped power Canada's prosperity for decades, is undergoing the biggest transformation since the fall of the Berlin Wall. At home, our long-standing weak productivity is straining government finances, making life less affordable for Canadian families and threatening to undermine the sustainability of vital social programs on which Canadians rely. The new federal government has an immense responsibility to address these challenges head-on with focused determination and fundamentally different approaches to governing. We must redefine Canada's international, commercial, and security relationships. In the process, we need to develop a defense industrial policy that secures Canada, fulfills our responsibilities to our allies, and helps build our economy. Canada must build an enormous amount of new infrastructure at speeds not seen in generations. This includes the infrastructure to diversify our trading relationships, to become an energy superpower in both clean and conventional energies, to restore affordability to housing, and to secure our borders and communities. The combination of the scale of this infrastructure build and the transformative nature of artificial intelligence will create opportunities for millions of Canadians to find new, rewarding careers, provided they have timely access to the education and training they need to develop the necessary skills. Government itself must become much more productive by deploying AI at scale, by focusing on results over spending, and by using scarce tax dollars to catalyze multiples of private investment. We will focus on 7 priorities. 1. Establishing a new economic and security relationship with the United States and strengthening our collaboration with reliable trading partners and allies around the world. 2. Building one Canadian economy by removing barriers to interprovincial trade and identifying and expediting nation-building products that will connect and transform our country. And as you know, kids and cubs, the Prime Minister is committed to removing the federal barriers to interprovincial trade, all of them by July 1st. 3. Bringing down costs for Canadians and helping them to get ahead. 4. Making housing more affordable by unleashing the power of public-private cooperation, catalyzing a modern housing industry, and creating new careers in the skilled trades. 5. Protecting Canadian sovereignty and keeping Canadians safe by strengthening the Canadian Armed Forces, securing our borders, and reinforcing law enforcement. 6. Attracting the best talent in the world to help build our economy while returning our overall immigration rates to sustainable levels. And my editorial addition here is I'm hoping that includes a lot of money for research and development and for attracting academics here. I'm hoping it includes a lot of money to establish a lot of research chairs that American researchers and academics might want to come over here and occupy. So, yes, hopefully this where we're going in the future strategy includes a lot of money for research and funding post-secondary education and that type of stuff and attracting this talent. And finally, 7, spending less on government operations so that Canadians can invest more in the people and businesses that will build the strongest economy in the G7. We must deliver for Canadians as a team committed to real cabinet government. The attainment of these objectives will require collaboration and coordination within the cabinet. I expect each cabinet committee, led by their chair, to drive and monitor our progress with oversight from the Priorities Planning and Strategy Committee and direction from the full cabinet. Basically, the Priorities Planning and Strategy Committee is sort of like the committee that's going to keep track of where all the projects are and where in the process that they are, and hopefully that they get the results. The former Prime Minister, was talking about deliverology earlier in the day when he was first elected, and that kind of sort of got abandoned along the way. But the whole concept was to, keep track of that type of stuff and to be able to report back on the, percentages of promises kept and all that type of stuff, and how far along we were, so that would be easily accessible to the public. And as the government realized that governing is difficult. That kind of got abandoned. They weren't so keen as to have a running track record. So we'll see. This will not be deliverology, but it's another type of sort of committee that's supposed to keep track of things and make sure that everything stays on track. And hopefully, this one will have a longer life. Let's put it that way. While fulfilling your core responsibilities as a member of the ministry, you should identify how specifically you can contribute to these missions. You will be expected and empowered to lead and to bring new ideas, clear focus, and decisive action to your work. Over the coming weeks, I will look to each of you to identify the key goals and measures of success on which to evaluate the results you will achieve for Canadians of the ministry. We will work together with parliamentarians and the public service. We will work in true partnership with provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples. And we will bring together labor, business, and civil society to build a Canada worthy of our children and grandchildren. In addressing the tasks before us, we must remain true to Canadian values. Canada is a dynamic country that celebrates our diversity, cares for the most vulnerable among us, and strives for a better future for all. The new federal government will continue the vital work of advancing reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. We will fight climate change. We will uphold the rule of law, protect our democratic institutions, and reinforce the unity of our country. Canada's challenges are not small, but we can more than meet them with vigor and a constructive approach. That is how Canadians have built the best country in the world. That is how we will build it to be even better. In partnership, the Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada. I like that sign off. In partnership. That sets a tone. That sets a very beautiful tone, I have to say. In partnership. I like that. I like that. I sometimes sign in friendship or with much respect. And then but in partnership. I like that. That speaks to me. That's good. Okay. So that's the mandate letter. And none of these priorities are surprising. Mr. Carney has been very, very clear throughout the entirety of his campaign that these are the things that were key to him and he wanted to work on, so they are reflected in the mandate letter. This is probably a bit of a preview of the speech from the throne, too. We're told not to really expect any surprises in it that way. So, if there's going to be a surprise on there, it's going to be a line or two, something about the sovereignty of Canada that's going to be put into the king's mouth to say. That might be a few lines that people are parsing every word and looking at every comma. And when you're dealing with a central banker, where, when they're putting stuff out, every comma has to be in the right spot because you can move markets with a misplaced comma. So people will be parsing that to see what meanings will be in there, if there's any statement with regard to the sovereignty of the nation. But other than that, there's not expected to be much great surprise in the speech from the throne, given that Prime Minister Carney has been excessively clear and repetitively clear about the things that he is considering to be a priority at the moment. All right. So we have that going on. Just looking at the time here, because I have to wrap up soon as well. So we have the mandate letter. He outlined his priorities. Prime Minister today seems that will be taking part in a little bit of ceremony during which he will pledge to be faithful and bear true allegiance to King Charles III before signing the roll, which will take place in the West Block. And that will be open to the cameras as a pooled photo opportunity. That's probably going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern, so a couple of minutes from now. Usually that would indicate, when they say that it's a pooled photo opportunity, that it's photos and images and no opportunity for questions at that particular moment. But yes, some ceremonial things that a new prime minister does, of course, sharing his, swearing allegiance and then going to sign the rolls, indicating, that things are about to start. Now, kids and cubs, on one side, we have mandates. But then we have, since we're talking about cabinets, two other politicians in the country recently revealed cabinets. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith had to rejig her cabinet because, well, she she kicked Peter Guthrie out, and then there's another person whose name I can't remember who left, I think, to become their point person at one of the consulates in the United States, I think in Washington D.C. or at the embassy, if not the consulate, for business and trade. And then I think this person was the speaker, so they needed a new speaker. So then they lost another cabinet minister to the speakership. So she had to do a shuffle. Now, Prime Minister Carney's shuffle, when people saw it, they turned around and said, well, was it really a smaller cabinet? Because, everybody in the cabinet, including him, well, that's 39. They said, well, they're saying there's only 28 cabinet ministers. Yeah, but you got 10 parliamentary secretaries. So that's really 38, and him 39, 40 if you include the whip. So much for small government and all that kind of stuff. Well, that was the narrative until Danielle Smith came along. And it seems that Danielle Smith decided that after all of this, and knowing that there's some tensions in the party, she decided to reshuffle her cabinet as well. And the Premier's cabinet is pretty big. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, she's got 47 members in there. And somebody did the math and said they did an equivalent to Mark Carney. That would be sort of like Mark Carney giving precedence to 101 of his MPs. So this is big. And let me put it this way. If you are handing out goodies like that, usually it is because you are in trouble. And you got to keep a lot of people happy because you don't want people defecting or running around, so you hand out a little goodie. By doing her cabinet shuffle this way, Danielle Smith is basically signaling to everybody that she is very keenly aware that she hears the clock. So let's listen to a little report from our friends at City TV, City News.
Friday afternoon, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith shuffling her cabinet and splitting up the health ministry.
I, Adriana LaGrange, do solemnly and sincerely promise.
I'm proud to say that Alberta will now have a dedicated minister responsible for overseeing the implementation of policy and delivery of healthcare services in each of the 4 key areas.
Adriana LaGrange will now serve as the Minister of Primary and Preventative Health Services, while Matt Jones will serve as Minister of Hospital and Surgical Health Services. Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaitis will also oversee childcare, and Minister of Seniors and Social Services Jason Nixon will also take on the assisted living portfolio. This as Alberta moves to split up the province's healthcare authority into 4 separate agencies, which they say will save costs and increase efficiencies. Minister LaGrange facing controversy and calls to resign during the spring sitting of the legislature after former Alberta Health Services CEO Athana Mentzelopoulos alleged in a lawsuit she was fired for investigating surgical contract corruption. Mentzelopoulos currently suing the Alberta government for $1.7 million, which led to MLA Peter Guthrie being expelled from the United Conservative Party caucus after he pushed to have the allegations investigated. Earlier Friday, Premier Smith telling media the cabinet move came out of the need to replace former Municipal Affairs Minister Rick McIver, who now serves as House Speaker. Former Mental Health and Addictions Minister Dan Williams will now take over the Municipal Affairs file. Smith insisting that was the reason behind the cabinet moves.
But that was the main goal. And then as a result, there's always, once you move one cabinet minister, you have to start moving a few others.
In Calgary, opposition Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi telling City News Minister LaGrange's move is an attempt from Premier Smith to deflect criticism from surgical contract corruption allegations.
And they certainly removed her from anything to do with surgeries or contracted surgical facilities in recognition of that. But she's still mucking around in the healthcare system, still causing fights with family doctors.
Alberta lawmakers set to resume sitting in the legislature this October. Reporting from Edmonton, Darcy Ropchan, City News.
Well, how convenient is that, kits and cubs? Adriana Lagrange. Okay, I'm not sure why this screen is not working there. There we go. Adriana Lagrange being shuffled out of the things for which she had responsibility. So now, if there's questions asked to her about those, well, sorry, that's no longer my department. You'll have to ask the new person. That's convenient. Gentle correction on myself. The cabinet is not 47. Sorry, the cabinet is 27. 27 of the 47 members that the UCP caucus has are now in cabinet. So yeah, doling out a lot of goodies to make sure that she stays in place and that there's no more mutiny from the inside for however long that lasts. Now, it seems that she was not the only one making those types of announcements, because we also had Pierre Poilièvre, who I'm now calling ReRun. This is his nickname. ReRun Poilièvre named his leadership team. Now, when we talk about spending, right, for Stornoway and his National Research Caucus and his leader of the official opposition office and then his MP constituency office, when you put it all together, he spends twice as more as then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh combined. Right? So he somehow feels that he needs twice the money to do the same work that other people do. Well, it seems that the same thing happens with his leadership team, because he named 48 Conservative members of Parliament to critic roles. So the Prime Minister has 28 members in his official cabinet. Pierre Poilièvre has 48 critic roles. Then the Prime Minister has 10 parliamentary secretaries. And Pierre Poilièvre has an additional 14 associated critics. 73 MPs have been named to his party's leadership team and critic roles. 73. Tell me you're worried about keeping your position without telling me you're worried about keeping your position. That's absolutely insane. I mean, and it looks insane as it is. Kits and cubs, it is absolutely stunning what this man has done. If you see it on paper, it's 4 pages. It's 4 pages. He's got the first page, which is his letter that indicates that he's making this big announcement and doing all of this kind of stuff. And then when you bring it up, he's got 3 different pages of people that are listed. It's incredible. I'm going to show you over here, kits and cubs. Let's see, make sure that everything is there and they can see it. Nope. There you go. So he's got his letter here that he has released. The Honorable Pierre Poilièvre, or more like a statement, news release. The Honorable Pierre Poilièvre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, released the following statement to announce the Conservative leadership team and shadow cabinet. It's not a shadow cabinet. That's not a thing in the Western parliamentary system. It's just parliamentary critics to fight for a Canada that is affordable, safe, united, and self-reliant. Quote, Canada must become a self-reliant country where hard work guarantees people a beautiful home on a safe street protected by solid borders, blah, 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 blah. Lately, it hasn't felt that way. Crime, inflation, deficits, and job losses are ballooning. Immigration is out of control. Our economy is more dependent on the U.S., and the country is more divided than ever before. Conservative solutions are needed now more than ever. We have already won the debates on carbon taxes, inflation, housing costs, crime, natural resources development, and more. That's why Canadians gave us 23 more seats and 2 million more votes. Again, no mention of how many more seats and how many more votes Canadians gave the other party. That's okay. Now, our bigger and better team will push for the government to boost Canadians' buying power through lower taxes and less inflation, unleash resources to bring home paychecks and production, and secure our streets by locking up criminals, getting immigration under control, and unite our people under our shared flag. Blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. And then if you look, well, oh, sorry. Anyway, that's his thing announcing it. And they're not sure why I popped it. This is not working for me. I'm sorry, kids and cubs. I'm trying to show you the actual letters. So how about I do this? I go right here, and this will be better. There we go. So all the shadow ministers, and again, this is probably too small for you to show to read on the screen, but this is the whole list of shadow ministers. Then down here we start the associate shadow ministers, and that keeps up to here. Then you got the whole leadership team that's there, and the leadership team for a party that indicated that they were going to grow and change, almost no changes. Leader of the House of Commons, Andrew Scheer, Deputy Leader Melissa Landsman, Deputy Leader Tim Uppal, Deputy House Leader Luc Berthaud, Chief Opposition Whip Chris Workerton, Deputy Whip Rob Moore, Question Period Coordinator Eric Duncan, Committee Coordinator John Brassard, National Outreach Chair Arpan Khanna, Quebec Lieutenant Pierre-Paul Housse, and Special Advisor for British Columbia Mark Strahl. It's pretty much the same leadership team. So again, this team that's supposed to grow and learn and show that it can change, whatnot, is not doing it in any way, shape, or form. And then if we continue, there's still more. It's a lot of people. 74. 74. So much for small government. So much for fiscal responsibility. Not happening with this guy. He also announced that he was striking an economic council, which struck me as particularly hilarious because an economic growth council. The Honourable Pierre Poilièvre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, is establishing a Leaders Economic Growth Council to identify the root causes of Canada's economic stagnation and propose practical solutions to unleash the country's full economic potential and bring it back from its position as the economic laggard of the developed world. Isn't that something you should have done during the 2.5 years that you were leader leading up to the election? So that when you had a quote-unquote costed platform, it wouldn't have been that disaster that you put out, a disaster that was so terrible that you would have been better off not putting out anything at all and just taking the hit for that. Wouldn't the time to have your Economic Growth Council be then? You're too late, honey. You're too late. You thought that you could coast on the past election with bad Trudeau and a flimsy platform and economic costing that actually torched your party's unearned brand for being sound fiscal managers. It's like, oh, now you want an economic growth council. Yeah, that totally tracks. That sounds like you, Pierre. Doing the thing you should have done 2.5 years too late when the opportunity is already over. Smart move. Great leadership. Boy, do we ever dodge a bullet. Not picking this guy. All right. Kids and cubs. I think that is all for today because your Mr. Beaver is off to some physiotherapy today. So that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please, please, please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really love it when you do. Now, if you would like to make sure you do not miss an episode because you are a kit on the go and you really want to make sure that we're with you, we are portable. Please just go to our pod page, podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver. And if you go there and you Click on subscribe. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it will come directly to you, and you can scan that QR code if you're watching. Thanks to the Ray Girl, she will bring you right there. Now, if you want to help us in other ways, Kits and Cubs, we do have a YouTube page, and Kits, Cassie, and Kiss Elaine are there waiting to welcome you. So please take a trip on down to True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated and click on our buttons like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us with the algorithm. And if you're listening to us on podcast, stars and reviews also help. So thanks very much. If you're able to help in yet another way, because we do incur some financial costs to bring the show to you, our coffee page, which is our tip jar, is there for you. Coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you're able to drop a little bit in there to help us fight the scourge that is dry beaver, then we would be very, very grateful. Thank you so much for all of your support. We do have a few people to thank, and we will do it on an upcoming show. But thank you so much for your generosity. Without you, we would not be able to do this. All right, kids and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. Remember, Quebec Liberal leadership race, you got to vote June 9th to the 14th. The results will be on the July 14th coming out. And of course, pen to paper and write some letters if you can to Danielle Smith if you're in Alberta about that whole separation thing, telling it's not on. And remember, the GoFundMe for Athana Metsalopoulos is still up and running, about 92% of the goal. But let's help you get a little transparency if you can do that. So yes, please help in any way that you can there. Because, well, let's see, words of wisdom. Don't really have much wisdom for you today other than just sparkle. The world needs your sparkle. So go out there, radiate some positivity. Those are my words of wisdom for the day. It could be a tough world out there. So kids and cubs, please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now I need to hear you say it, the magic words. Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock in 3, 2, 1. Such melodious music. Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.